This Phalaenopsis is growing in bark and pumice. You see those nice shiny leaves there. It's very dry. So first I'm going to give it some warm water to hydrate all that bark in there. Kind of looks like this. Also flushes out anything that's accumulated. The salts, etc. Fertilizer. It's very mild anyway. Right. Moving along then. That's the first part I do.
Lagi?
And you get a little bit of slow release fertilizer. These fowls are going to start preparing their buds in the winter. And get a little bit. Very much though. All-purpose fertilizer 888. And then in goes the good water. I'm just going to let it soak for about 15-20 minutes. All these sticky traps everywhere. This Phalaenopsis also got some water. It is in sphagnum. The sphagnum moss is completely dried out. This is what it likes. I live in the tropics here, if you don't already know. And we do get cold winters. Cold winters right down to 17 Fahrenheit outside. From about December. It's about 3 months of that kind of cold. The rest of the year is quite warm, and we have very tropical hot summers like Florida. Actually, at times it's even hotter than that. These fowls have been doing really great now. There's one thing that they don't like. They idealistically don't particularly like temperatures over 32 degrees. I'll put that up in Fahrenheit. If you have no drop in the temperature at night, so they like to cool down at night if they're going to get such hot days. But in this particular room here, and including outside, it got up to 37 or 38 at times. It put such stress on the orchids that this one had lost a lot of roots, and this one had just grown a very long stem, probably something twice the length of that, so it got a cut. You can see here, I just melted some wax over that, set it back into the mix. This portion I put new sphagnum, nice and healthy. So idealistically, your fowls like cooler temperatures. You may look online and it says that our greenhouses are kept at 25 to 28 degrees, but believe me, they have struggles and trouble trying to maintain a temperature that doesn't go over 32 degrees, because once it does, it stresses the orchids a lot. So if you just think about it, these orchids like temperatures like we do, warm, comfortable. A lot of these will be starting to set their flower spikes. So I did put a little slow release in. This one is a good example of an orchid that was watered and then watered again and again without letting the sphagnum moss dry right out. But it is recovering. I put out 2 new leaves. It's got nice long roots, that's for real. Alright. Just want to show you what I mean about orchids that are moist. I don't have a camera, I don't have time, but what I do record is good factual information. So this one came with its pot. That's sphagnum moss. You can see there in there that the roots are still green. And if you touch it, it feels quite dry there, but not, it's soft because it's still got moisture in it, and you can see the green in there. You may be tempted to give it a water, but you shouldn't. You should just leave it be. Now this one has got, it's just a mini phal, but it's creating these huge healthy leaves. Just sits in this cache pot here. You don't want to water that. You do it and you're going to get your root rot. So no, water does not need it. It's been over 2 weeks now, the last time it was watered. Now if this was grown in a commercial greenhouse, they can maintain a temperatures of 25 to 28 degrees. Then the moss dries out really quickly, much faster. But those growers, okay, they make sure that their moss dries right out before they water them again. Now, the reason why we get confused is that we end up with a plant from the store. It's pretty damp, right? Almost wet. And we think that that's how they are maintained in those growing greenhouses. They must have them constantly almost damp, wet. But what we don't see is that they actually dry right out. And when you put your finger on the bottom, up through the hole in the bottom, or push it down into the medium, it's crunchy, like cornflakes. Then they come along and they water them. So we don't see that. So when they arrive to us, and we put them in our homes, they're still moist and wet, and we think they must be moist, thoroughly moist all the time. And then they get the rots in the root system and die. And that's the reason. And the reason why they're moist when they come in, or they're in the nursery, is that they give them a good water before they send them out, right? Okay, next one. These two sit by a sunny eastern window, so they get plenty of sun that comes in. Maybe a little bit too much, that's why I've got that paper towels there, just to filter it out. And they are going to get a water. They haven't had a water for 2 weeks. I'm going to show you how dry they are. Let's take it out. Yeah, see those roots are white. There's virtually no moisture left in there at all. And those roots are silvery white. So now's a good time to water. So first we give it a soak. Right. Get a bit of bark back in. Right. I don't know why I took it out of a cash pot. I want to soak it. Same as the last one, I just pour it in the water like that. Moisten it up before I put in the good water. The good water is the water that has the little liquid fertilizer and the chlorinated water. Next one is this one. This is Jai-Ho Pink Girl. Jai-Ho Pink Girl. It is a keiki that came off my big plant. Jai-Ho Pink Girl has some roots coming along there. It also has a lot of roots that died during last summer because high temperatures. We got up to over 35 degrees, and that hot tropical air is 40 plus. You got to be extra careful with your watering in those temperatures and keep your orchid cool, preferably in a room that's got an air conditioner. But if you don't live in the tropics, you don't need to worry about that. Give it a good soak. It's got nice new growth there, and flower spike. It's got a flower spike. That's nice. Some of the mix is falling out. Just put it back in there. Okay, we've got a soak. Next up is putting in the good water. So we will give these to the good water now. Okay, we're back here. So I can give them their water. This one here is one that has no name, but it has light pink flowers. And does it have flower spikes coming or not? I would think so. I have a little zoom in on that, but because we're going to be putting a lot of effort into their flower buds, we get a little slow release. And once again, when you do use slow release, just make sure you take you give your plants a good flush out of water. It just helps to get the leftover salts building up. It can irritate the roots. It's true, it does. These plants would never be this healthy if I was watering them every week at this point in time in the summer. Of course they dry out faster. Might be every week that they get water. So that one's going to have a good soak. But definitely they'll let them dry out. They have very their roots are very typical of epiphytic orchids. There's no way that you will see a Phalaenopsis fall to the forest floor and then take root down there. It's extremely rare. They're very sensitive to having water around their roots or moisture for too long. They just like to dry out. And in this case they're in a cache pot because I try to maintain humidity. It's not to fill up with water and then they drink from it. It's got nothing to do with that. It's to keep humidity around them. Which they don't mind. They actually mind more having their pot exposed. So if I was to have it out like that all the time, so then the flower would, it would dry out far too quick. I don't want it to dry out too fast, but I want it to get a good soaking, and then every day it dries out a little bit more. It seems to make it happy. If it was on a mount with bare roots and everything, you can go ahead and water daily because it'll dry right out again. But this is pot culture. It's a complete different ball game. And yes, there are a lot of growers that do semi-hydro with their Phalaenopsis. It means they grow them in lacquer balls or pon, which is kind of compressed clay balls, and they go ahead and they maintain water in the reservoir, but there is a big thing that you should know about semi-hydro with orchids. You're going to have to keep some kind of heating system in the indoors where you grow them, because if you have the temperatures drop below 10 degrees when you're doing semi-hydro, those roots are gonna rot really fast. So you got to keep constant warm temperatures, about 20 degrees, and they shouldn't fall below 15 at night. Then you can do it, okay? But you know, a lot of these rooms here are unheated. They're going to get down to 10. If I have water in the reservoirs that they can put their roots into, those roots will just rot straight off. And I've seen it before with my Phalaenopsis. Alright, so let's have a look at something that's quite pleasing. This is Jaiho Pink Girl. It's got a different name in Japan. It's called the Sakura Phalaenopsis. So this one here, you can see it has a flower spike right there, and it's got a big one right there. That one's really thick. That one's going to have a lot of blooms on it. So that's two. We got one just peeking out there. That's three. Of course, this plant has divided into two. Those new leaves have like a freckled look, very dark green and shiny. To maintain the health of my orchids, I do use dolomite lime mixed in the water. I put the dolomite lime in a squirty bottle like this, and then I shake it all around, and then when it all settles at the bottom, I just squeeze, but I don't shake it, into here. Just 2 or 3 good squeezes. And then I put a drop of dechlorinator, and this is all-purpose includes magnesium and calcium fertilizer, 1 little drop. So it's always just a constant little bit, right? But in this case I did put slow release. All-purpose one there, so they will just attain what they need. Being a plant and being a living animal, I kind of doubt that you have these fertilizers that have higher phosphorus or potassium to encourage flower blooms, and then it gets lower on the nitrogen. I just think that plants are like people. If you eat food, your body attains what it needs, right? And the rest of it is processed and gotten rid of. It won't use what it doesn't want. So you can just use a general. But yeah, you got to have the magnesium and calcium. I've had this orchid for almost 10 years. And that's its baby. So this is a sure sign of a very healthy orchid, possibly as healthy as you would see in a commercial greenhouse. And the reason why it's very healthy like this is because of those points that I made about temperature. Okay, if you live in a hot climate and you get temperatures that are just unbearably hot, you're going to lose your Phalaenopsis. Move it to an air-conditioned room. If you can't provide that, move it to the coolest possible place in the house. It's cool. It may be lacking a lot of sunlight, but as long as it has airflow and it's kept cool during that month or two in the summer, it will be fine. Okay, so that is all done. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, let me know. We'll see you again next time. Bye bye. Hi, welcome back to My Life with Plants. I'm Newman. Got my glasses on so I can see up close, because my eyesight's not too good these days with things up close getting on a bit. Anyway, I just wanted to wrap up things by showing you up close this Phalaenopsis. You can see all those new roots there. This one, as I said before, has had a cut. There it is there. And you may be wondering why I have it sideways like that. I think that you can get better growth if you just let your Phalaenopsis do what they want, and that's to grow outways. For sure. This one has also had a cut because its stem was so long and the root system had just died over time because it gets old. And I gave it a cut just like this one and put the wax over there. Wax is a good sealant. It seals over the wound pretty fast. Then I just replaced the moss in this area, and you can see that you got all these nice new roots. The Phalaenopsis love the winter here. It's much cooler. They get nice sunlight, and if they didn't, I would just use a grow light, and you just need to use a grow light that's for fish tanks, so it's very low wattage. You don't need a lot of sunlight at all. In actual fact, you can grow your Phalaenopsis on the darkest window of your house, and I will put a link up there if you are interested in watching another person that grows Phalaenopsis. And I noticed that she said she had hers on the darkest side of the house, and they're all green and luscious in flower. And I know for a fact that Phalaenopsis do not like any direct sun. It's November now, the sunlight is ambient. It's just warm, just slightly warm. Temperatures are about 20 degrees. But if you have hot summer temperatures and you put your fowl underneath that sun, it'll get such a lot of damage you can set it back for years. So, nice healthy root system once again. When that medium has become crunchy dry, then it's time for watering, and I put my finger right down inside. By the way, can you see inside there? It's only an inch or so deep with sphagnum moss, and the rest of it, all of it, so about an inch down is the sphagnum, and then all the rest of it is styrofoam chunks, which help to support these stakes for the flowers, and they do not require any more medium than that, because you want them to dry out in between. If you were to fill that whole thing with sphagnum moss, you would get rot. So this one is going to produce flower buds, perhaps that one, and if this one does, I'll cut them off because, oh no, I won't. It's already got a good root system. I might let it carry through with that. It did have one leaf that I had to cut off gently that had rot, but it wasn't the kind of rot because of overwatering or anything. It was the heat stress. So I now know that this year's summer that comes around, these Phalaenopsis are going to move to the shadiest part and coolest part. And the thing is that when you do move them, you still have a lot of heat in the house, so you need to have a oscillating fan like that. This one is aiming up because when it's blowing on the orchids, it actually cold makes them freeze. But you still need air circulation. Okay, so that about wraps it up for Phalaenopsis. And before we go, I want you to have a look at this. Alright, this one here. Look how monstrous these leaves are. Look at that. It has monstrous leaves. And it is also growing on the lean. And I noticed once it did that, it put out even bigger leaves than last time. So if your flower is leaning to one side, you're going to get much better growth, much healthier plant than trying to stand it up all the time. You don't need to do that. You just move your plants around until you can find adequate space. And that's why I've kind of hung this one. It's been in this pot for years and years, probably going on 5 years. It has no need for a repot because the growing media is just something for orchids to grab onto. It's not giving them all the sustenance or anything like plants that grow in the ground or in the soil. And this plant does have this cloth that's put over it during August because the sun comes right in here, and also this would be used to keep it warm when we get those minus temperatures coming in the winter. I'll just droop it over the top. Alright, so that's this fowl has jumbo sized pink blooms. Very beautiful. Anyway, I think that about does it, right? And if you have any questions, let me know. I'll help you out with your orchids. And I have a good 10 years experience. Alright, so thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Bye bye.